start recording. Hello everyone, my name is Arianna Monge. I am a senior intern at MusicWorks, and today I'm going to be presenting on the special project that I was able to create in my time as an intern. As you can see, I called it Turtle Music, and we will get into the reason why in just a second. But essentially, some background is that in my time waiting to start my internship, I had about 8 months of time that I needed to occupy with something. And ideally, I wanted to have an experience to grow my facilitation skills and get some more familiarity in the medical setting. And by chance or fate or whatever it is that you may believe in, I came into contact with this camp. And the camp was looking for a musician, and it turns out that they had never had a music therapist before. But the whole camp was just looking for intentional programming. And as a music therapist, that was kind of my jam. So let's get into it. Without further ado, I present you Turtle Music. So my project overview, I came into internship kind of already knowing that I wanted to revolve my special project around this amazing place that I got to spend my summer at. While the initial idea was just the program proposal and pitching it, over the series of events that 2020 has presented us with, it has collected all these different facets to it. So that being said, there's the program development aspect. There was a pilot program that I initiated and implemented, as well as moving forward with the partnership of a program with this camp, and then the program proposal. So specifically where, this camp is called the Painted Turtle. And the Painted Turtle provides year-round camp experiences for children with serious medical conditions. It's located in Lake Hughes, California in the Angeles National Forest. The Painted Turtle is a proud member of the Global Serious Fun Children's Network, founded by Paul Newman. So there are camps like this all over the country and all over the world, but this one specifically serves Southern California families and children who wouldn't otherwise have an opportunity to experience camp if it weren't for the on-site medical services. So there's actually a video here that I would love to share with you. It's a short little thing that really explains camp, because I could go on forever talking about what it is. I would love to show you. I'm realizing now you might not be able to hear that, so let me just make sure everyone can hear the music. All right, here we go. Oh, okay.
At home, I am a pediatric liver transplant coordinator. I come here to the Painted Turtle to help provide support and medical needs for the kids that are here at camp, all while not trying to look medical. I'm here to be their friend and someone they can talk to, and I want them to feel comfortable with me.
I love being a nurse, both working in an intensive care unit. We deal with a lot of very stressful situations. I come to camp and it just fills my cup. Here, everything's a yes and everything's a possibility, which reshapes minds.
My name is Jorge Vargas. I'm a physician at UCLA Medical Center. I have seen children that were socially completely isolated, but their overall well-being just completely changes when they are at camp.
I am a clinical nurse specialist at Stanford Children's Hospital. We have one particular patient who was always in the hospital. She didn't talk. She didn't say one word. She would bang her, behavioral issues. And to see her come to camp and interact with these kids, you would never have thought she would be able to do this. And that's what makes me want to come back every year.
Stay safe around the clock. Try new things and never stop. Always go up, up, and never down, down.
As medical volunteers can get as dirty or as involved or as messy at camp as they'd like. If you want to participate in wacky hair night and let the campers do your hair, you can do that. Maybe that's not your comfort zone, that's okay too. We always need specialists in the conditions that we serve, both physicians, nurses, general providers as well. They don't even need to just be in pediatrics. If they're interested in coming to camp, we can find a niche for them.
The painted turtle changed how I do my job and how I approach things. I owe this place who I am. I'll keep coming back for my whole life.
There's definitely a part of all of us that are here that become children and go back to when we were kids, and we experience the same joy they do.
So as you can see, the medical aspect to this camp is essential, not only to the function of the camp, but there's no other place that these campers' parents feel comfortable leaving their kid. A lot of campers' parents who I worked with last summer had verbally expressed to me that they had never been without their child throughout their entire lives until they came across the painted turtles. So there's an extreme amount of trust in allowing these experiences to happen, and to be a part of that interdisciplinary team was a huge learning opportunity for me. But if there's anything that you got from this video, it's just such a magical place, and to be able to provide this service, I'm super grateful for. So here we go. Slide. Okay. So here you can see the music area at camp. And the whole purpose of the programming is for everything to be very intentional and adaptable. At camp, we believe in the power to say yes. And there's this chant because music is so integral to the values of camp. There's music infused all throughout. Oh no. Here we go. All throughout, it's infused with chants and movement and music. So I'd love to teach you this chant here. You take your right arm, you take your left arm, and you go, yes, 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 and rule of 3, just like with anything. But in between the yes, 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 you go, yes, 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 we love it, yes, 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 we need it, yes, 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 we want it. So try it with me, everyone. Ready? Yes, 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 we love it, yes, 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 we need it. So that being said, yes, 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 we need music therapy at camp. And as we know, music therapists are trained to facilitate intentional and adaptable programming that's developmentally and age appropriate, while maintaining fun and engaging activities. Camp is a natural place for music therapists, and for myself, campers and volunteers and staff alike, it's home. So when it came to the actual summer programming, here's kind of a sneak peek at what I'm able to provide. For example, the second week of the 8-week summer programming includes rheumatic diseases, so kids who are affected by primarily juvenile arthritis. And the goals of this population include emotional expression, pain management, and coping skills. And with every week of diagnoses groupings, there are considerations specific to their diagnosis. For example, children and adolescents with juvenile arthritis are often comorbid with depression and anxiety, considering that they are in pain the majority of their days, every day of their lives. So opportunities to express through songwriting, to play and sing, allow for that emotional expression, as well as using music as a coping skill. And I was able to use my music therapy background to know which instruments are appropriate, and how to adapt, for example, playing a drum, to make it a less painful experience, and knowing that I can't ask a camper to sit at a piano and stretch out their fingers because that would be really painful for them. So adapting the piano so that way it's playable in a way that is accessible and not a painful experience. Some of the interventions that I offered were songwriting, lyric substitution, music improvisation, relaxation, therapeutic singing, and then of course group music making. And the fun part about camp is there's always a theme. So for example, the theme was land versus sea, underwater soccer tournament. So I was able to exercise my own creative abilities, and I drew all these different land and sea animals and then put the rhythm underneath, and we would have a rhythm building activity where they had to figure out the rhythm of the animals and play them, and then we put it together in a sequence. And that was just, the initial activity to build rapport and get the group playing. Another look at a different week would be kidney disease and transplant week, where the goals here were mostly procedural support, coping skills, emotional expression, group cohesion, because camp is a place where kids can meet other kids like them. So fostering that relationship in music is really special. Some considerations were that campers can spend up to 4 hours a day in the medical facility that we call the well shell, because we don't call it the medical facility, and they'll be there for infusions. So I had the opportunity to provide individual or small group music, for coping and expression, and this is one of my personal favorite themes was 80s mall. And the interventions that we did was creating our personal mixtapes, and it involved creative arts, decorating our mixtape, putting songs on there, and then using the looping pedal to create a group sound. And one of the campers shared that the music that they put in their mixtape was music that they listened to when they were going in for surgeries or when they were going in for a long hospital stay. So it was really cool just to hear how music helps these campers cope. And then just one more sneak peek at Sibling Week, which the camp does support campers with chronic medical conditions, but it also supports siblings, because siblings often take on a lot of responsibility being another member of the family, and often may feel overlooked or like they have extra responsibilities that maybe their peers don't. So goals here would be emotional expression, increasing self-esteem, group cohesion. Some considerations is that they may feel overlooked in their everyday lives, but they have an incredible amount of empathy and love for everyone who's around them. So we really focused on the group cohesion, the musical improvisation, using creative arts. And that week was special because it was all about outer space. So I had each of them create their planets that were just them in their own universe. They got to name it and decorate it and talk about it and then play it musically. And we combined those together to make one big sibling universe musically on our loop pen. So that being said, that was everything that I was able to provide at that time. And the proposal was to seek to expand that music programming into a partnership with my alum, CSUN, and as a future supervising music therapist, my role would to be not only doing program development for the summer session and the spring fall family weekends, but facilitating and implementing the program area and managing the area, in addition to volunteer recruitment, so coordinating with my university to bring volunteers who can specifically provide the music therapy experiences, because we are only about an hour away from our campus at camp. And I would additionally assist in connecting campers and families with music therapy in their community. And then lastly, doing consultation with donors, which was, I got a little bit of experience while I was staff there. And I was very fortunate to create these professional relationships. So COVID-19 happened and everything had to go virtual. So just like at camp, you have to adapt. Music therapists are used to adapting. So as we are well aware, everything got canceled because of COVID-19. And for the safety of all people, camp canceled all of 2020's summer sessions. In an attempt to push forward with music programming, I created this pilot music therapy group and I named it Sonic Connections. So Sonic Connections was a 6-week program where I was providing music therapy, ideally for a group of kids with chronic medical conditions. In the marketing and advertisement and trying to get signups, I was able to acquire one participant and thankful for my one client. And it was a learning experience for sure. I learned that with virtual, there's a whole effort to adapting your interventions to just this platform that we're on. And that comes with utilizing the online resources that you have. So turning to online music making in the browsers. And even if you have all of those things in place, there's the added layer of navigating your audio and tech logistics. So even when you plug in your mics and cables, making sure your visuals or your resources are pulled up in advance. And even with that in place, there's no controlling when your Wi-Fi freezes or kicks you off the meeting altogether. So after all the 6 weeks were kind of going and I was wrapping up with my client in my pilot program, the camp announced that they were going virtual. So that was great news because I could push forward with my program proposal and I could really push forward with just trying to provide services in any way that I could. So that started with an all-staff demonstration. I was able to meet with the camp administrator, the camp director, assistant camp director, and all the other supporting staff and provide an in-staff demonstration of what I could do virtually thanks to everything I learned in this internship and in my pilot program. And that led to being able to provide 1 hour all camp music session with live instrument making, another hour of live music therapy with the teens on Zoom, as well as daily sing-alongs. So now currently Camp at Home is 3 weeks in. And so the 4th session is coming up this weekend. So with my Camp at Home sessions for the all camp, I developed this protocol that incorporates not only family connection and camper connection with each other, but also embracing all the cultures that camp brings together, because we reflect the California demographic. There are families who speak all sorts of different languages. So we start off by saying hello to everyone and greeting people in different languages. We move into vocalization and improvisation because we're assuming that families may not have everything at home. Camp is fortunate enough to be able to send out supply boxes to the families, and in it they get supplies for crafting as well, which I'll get into in a second. But we go off the premise that we're using what we have available to us. And for campers who maybe don't have as much motor ability, then they can use their voice and we can improvise. Then we move into body percussion and chanting, creative arts, where we create our own turtle. So the turtle being our mascot, and especially relevant to kids who do struggle with chronic medical conditions. There's this inside part and then there's the hard outer shell. So we do this chant that's, there's two parts of me, one on the inside, one on the outside. There are two parts of me. And they can improvise on how their inside sounds and how their outside sounds, and we can create it too and talk about it. And then of course there's the tactile activity, the craft, where we're making instruments together live on Zoom. Here I have my drum that I made out of duct tape, so they all get duct tape and all the supplies that they might need to make their own instrument at home. And then we of course play those together, and we usually try to come away with something original. So whether that's a playlist for the teenagers or creating an original song, we do all the things. So thank you so much for sticking with me through this presentation. The next steps with my special project are, of course, to finish providing music for the remaining summer 2020 sessions, and continue developing this partnership with the Painted Turtle whenever it is that we are able to return safely in person, and pitch this program to the higher ups. So lastly, lessons learned. I really learned a lot about developing professional relationships. Even when I started off as just a camp counselor musician, I treated it as if I was the professional music therapist and everything that I could provide. And posturing myself that way allowed me to develop these relationships to essentially get my foot in the door. So that way, when it came time to trying to pitch this project, they were like, heck yes, we know exactly what you can do. We've seen it, and we believe in it. So having that buy-in already was just really helpful to creating this program. And a really big lesson about program development is you're learning as you go. There were many times where I was just frozen because I was like, oh, well, everything's canceled. What do I do? And that's the exciting part about being a music therapist developing a program, is you can be developing it actively and still learning about how to adjust and provide it in the best way possible. So my advice as a senior intern, to those of you who might be still reflecting on your special project, is just start somewhere and don't be afraid to go for it. And that brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak on my special project today. If anybody has any questions, I'm going to take a look at this chat here because it's been closed. Brian said the transfers from your pilot program to being able to use that to promote your virtual camp facilitation. On top of that, adjusting your facilitation to allow accessibility, a testament to what a great music therapist you are. Oh, thank you. Anna said, I love how creative you were with being able to be with this program virtually. Yes, posturing yourself as a professional is a win, definitely. Any other questions?
What was your biggest challenge with all of this? I don't know if that's too broad of a question, but just like some challenges that you faced.
Some challenges. Yeah, and that is a broad question, but it's a good question. I'd say the biggest challenge is taking action when it feels like the world is falling apart. Because as a music therapist, I think we all struggle with this complex of like, I need to help everybody and I need to save the world. And when everything got canceled, of course, I was super discouraged because I had all these plans around coming back to camp in the summer when internship was over. And I think the biggest challenge for me was just releasing expectations. And once I was able to do that, then I could start moving forward and thinking, okay, how can I still make a difference here in a way that maybe I just didn't anticipate?
I'm curious, Arianna, from the video that you shared, it seems like all of the medical professionals are volunteers. Is that correct? So I'm curious what the percentage, like how many actual staff do they have, paid staff, and how many are volunteers? Kind of like what's the feasibility of ongoing program?
Yeah, definitely. So the Painted Turtle relies at least 50% on volunteers. And as you can see, there are specialists who volunteer for specific weeks. For example, on Kidney Week, they need specialists who know how to do infusions. And one just random thing I'd love to share is that they, during certain weeks, they will train campers how to stick themselves. And that's like a whole thing. So there are volunteers that are necessary, but in order for camp to operate the way it does, there is staff that is salaried, like medical professionals who are salaried, who are there throughout the whole summer. They have a medical director, and they have a clinical director, and they have a nurse manager, and they have nurses that are paid for the whole summer. So they do have paid positions for healthcare professionals, just like they have a paid PA, and they even have a child psychologist. So knowing that, I know that I can posture myself to say, hey, you already have a musician role, but here's how you can make that like a clinical position. And so I know that there's a need, and I could kind of finesse into it while also still encouraging, well, since volunteering is a huge part of the Painted Turtle, and it is a challenge to get volunteers in general, being able to offer that kind of in exchange, like here's my area of expertise and here's how I can still contribute to incoming volunteers. So kind of a win-win. Mandy?
Yeah, I have a question, I guess from like last summer and stuff, as someone who's worked with kids in camp a lot, it's like exhausting. And with it being a year-long thing, how do you like combat just like sometimes just being like really exhausted and like not quite up to the task of being like so on and energetic and exciting like every weekend? Is it every weekend?
That's a good question. Yeah, so when they say year-round, the programming is different depending on the season. So in the summer, when I was there last year in 2019, the summer is 8 weeks long. And essentially I finished my finals in music therapy, and the next week I was starting orientation. So I was there for 10 weeks, but the 8 weeks being like 4 or 5 days of a session of sleepaway camp. So these kids are here for that many days, and we're on for 5 days, but then we get time off, just like a weekend that you would get. It's just not traditional weekends. And we did that for a summer session, and then during the rest of the year, it's actually all family weekends. And I was able to, pre-COVID, experience one of those back in February. And it's a completely different experience because as a camp counselor in the summer, you're with the kids all the time. You're helping them shower and self-care and all of those needs. But on the family weekends, the families are responsible for that. And it's much shorter. It's only a couple days. And those weekends only happen maybe 2 or 3 times a year. So yeah, the demand, while it is exhausting, the kids honestly give me a lot of energy and the time off is also very helpful. Does that answer your question? Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
So with all of the things that you learned and all of the big changes that you had to make for your groups, what was the biggest thing that you learned about yourself through the process?
That's a big question. All the things that I learned, what did I learn about myself? I think the biggest thing that I learned about myself brings it back to just like the camp spirit of um, really embracing your inner child and the child at heart, because it's really easy to lose touch with that, especially when you're thinking about professional world and I got to check off these boxes and accomplish these things in life. But camp has a really good way of grounding you to what really matters in life. And when I could ground myself in that purpose, everything feels a little bit more manageable. It is a fun job, Anna. Definitely very fun. Rachel said, did you have to educate the fellow volunteers about music therapy, and how did you do that? That's a great question, Rachel. I actually did a presentation for the volunteers and for the staff about music therapy. So I was able to not only educate on what music therapy is as a profession, how it developed in the US, and how effective it is with the medical setting, specifically pediatric medical, but I was also able to create this experience for the staff so they could see firsthand what it is about music therapy that makes it effective. And within that experience, I provided opportunities for us to verbally process how we can adapt things to the campers and make it about the campers. We call it camper centricity or kid centricity. So teaching the volunteers how they can support their campers in music. And this kind of goes back to my case study, by encouraging them to be involved. Yeah, that was a really cool opportunity too. Rebecca has a two-part question. She said, is the Painted Turtle a national camp? If yes, would you be able to expand to other branches? If no, would there be a possibility to take the virtual platform and reach out to other camps? That is a very good question. So the Painted Turtle is just one camp and has its kind of own set of people that run it, but it is part of a larger network called Serious Fun that has camps all over the country and all over the world, but they all kind of run independently. So I have heard that there are music therapists who work at other camps, but I'm not aware of the processes that they went through to do that. But it's definitely a possibility to take it on a network wide scale, which would be really cool because that creates opportunities for more music therapists, because that's way more work than one person can handle. Program expansion, exactly. Got to start somewhere. Well, thank you, everyone. If there's no other questions, I appreciate your time.
Excellent.